You know, you walk into your dad's house and his girlfriend's like, Steve, get your kids. You be like,
right, who is this woman? I've been here. Right.
Girl, you knew.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Krisp Konversations. I'm your host, Kris, and these are my two co-hosts. Say what's up, y'all.
What's good?
What's going on, y'all? It's Sean D. White, and the D is for, I don't know.
Y'all know how we do. We're going to talk about our experiences and how we view them differently. We're going to have a word of the day that we'll drink to. We're going to keep it loose, raw, have fun, but most importantly, we're going to say that shit.
Say that shit.
Today's word of the day is kids. So every time we say kids, we'll take a sip. All right, kids? This episode, I think I want to talk about dating with kids. Do y'all feel like it's easy or hard to date with kids?
I mean, I feel like coming from somebody who doesn't have kids.
God, this is not a good idea. I'm taking baby sips.
Right. I feel like it's not easier because like most people like my age, 30 and up, at least have like one.
Yeah. And
they're probably going to be like under 10. So, you know, those are like critical years where they really have to focus. And also it's really sad that most of the women that I met with at least one kid, the dad's relationship with the kid and mom isn't there. So not only are they single moms, but they're really like single moms that are alone. Mm-hmm. And so it makes it difficult for us to try and form a relationship and date because you got a whole child you got to worry about. You know what I mean? You may have to get a babysitter. You may have to be here, be there. And unfortunately, coming from someone who is an only child, I be needing attention. So
not Mr. I don't want nobody to touch me.
Right. I ain't never say that. But yeah, it caused a bit of a issue, man. I mean, how y'all see it?
What you think?
Well, I think it's not necessarily harder, but just different. Mm-hmm. It's a different atmosphere to navigate because children require so much attention, as you stated earlier. Mm-hmm. But there's also a lot of opportunities to go ahead and when you're seeing someone, if a woman has children and she gets that babysitter, you can still really get to know her.
Yeah.
You know, outside of always having to be around her child or children, vice versa. If there's a guy who has the children and then now he's out dating because of whatever, whether it's he's widower or, you know, divorced, when he begins to, you know, get out there, you know, sometimes women are open to that. So I won't say it's just harder as much as it's just a totally different type of landscape.
You just be so tactful. I think I gotta agree with Harvey. I don't want to say it's harder. It's just different, and I think that you have to have the mind frame to accept someone else's children. But I also I think it makes a difference if you have children or you're just dating somebody else with children. Because, like, in my situation, my husband already had a son. I didn't have my own kids, so I kind of had to take a back seat, I guess so to say, to, I don't know, watching him parent.
Yeah, hands-on dad.
Yeah. And I think it may be different if you date someone with kids and you also have kids, because then at that point you're trying to like blend a family.
Yeah.
But you may be more understanding to like the time restraints of I can't do this tonight or I can't do this today, or if we do this we have to do it for the kids. So I just think, you know, it's different in dynamics, and like you got to kind of have the mind frame of I don't mind dating somebody with a kid.
Right.
Because if you close it off.
Because I've been there before, man. A woman told me that. She was like, I can't date you because you don't have kids. And I'm like, what that mean? She was like, you just won't understand like my struggle.
Right.
And I mean, she's right, because I like picking up and going whenever I get ready. I like staying out as late as I want to. I don't have like no time restraints and stuff like that. So yeah, I get it.
I also think too, I realized that like the older we get, everybody has kids. It's like each year your window of opportunity gets smaller and smaller for whether or not the person that you're going to meet will have a kid or not.
Right.
And then at some point you start looking at them like, you 40? Well, you ain't got no kids. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, so.
But I know.
Well, Harvey says children.
Oh, yeah.
Being very strategic.
Not to say
it.
I got you.
Because, when you become involved and you're starting to really spend a lot of that time, and now if you're getting kind of a part of this extended family, these children that become your own almost, if there's the whole dating idea behind it, if it's harder or not, sometimes what does make it harder is the relationship of the other parent as it is pertaining to that dating relationship. When it's absentee father, as we know, sometimes those are...
Or a difficult mother.
Yeah, that's true. It can cause a totally different type of dynamic when it comes to developing something with that special someone that you're trying to get to know. But, I think if you don't ever get a chance to really show that side of you as a parent or co-parent or whatever into who you're getting ready to date, because that's what they're going to be looking for. If they're getting serious, then they're going to start wanting to see certain traits that, you're going to be okay in this situation.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think to your last point that you said about men like waiting until 40 and stuff.
Not just men, women too.
Women too, yeah. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Sometimes they be, that biological clock is a bit different, But I was just saying, as in regards to men waiting to have kids.
I'm saying babies.
I think they be trying to figure out like that they're their best complete version of themselves as a man before they ultimately have kids.
He came to play.
With a woman, because it's no coming back from that. And I don't think they really want to deal with, I know I don't. I'll be seeing certain people my age go through so much like drama and the back and forth. Like it's more than just, your time that you spend with someone, but just also like, like children, you really have to like lock in. And it can be difficult for you to do that if one person's trying to pull and you're trying to push, you know what I mean? And I think they feel like, hey man, I'm more mature now. I've lived my life. I've had my fun. Now I can really be the dad that I need to be.
I'm 50 and I can't throw a ball no more. Come here, boy.
Man, you'd be surprised, but I feel like a lot of guys.
Janet Jackson had a baby at 50. But I feel like she has the resources to have a baby at 50.
She has plenty of resources. And at the same time, you got to think about who she had a baby with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that factors into it too. I think.
But I definitely just saw her at Essence and she wasn't giving 50 nothing.
She wasn't giving 50 nothing.
Nah.
I watched that performance. She looked great. She really did. Yeah.
So do y'all think that like you wouldn't date someone who doesn't have kids? Like I guess this is more so geared towards for me and Harvey.
Well,
you too.
I don't know.
It's definitely geared towards
dating. In general, it's taking a different kind of turn. I think we talked earlier about just the whole idea of taking your time, the whole taking it slow and taking it easy in the 90s, 2000s. But now, 2024, it's, people that I talk to who are dating, it's moves so fast. Everything is...
let's get a flight to Jamaica. We can get to know each other once we get to the resort.
So, there's a difference in dating.
Don't even know what her real face look like.
Yeah, it's like, how do you define dating as it compares to like right now and what it used to be? Dating now is definitely going out and spending time, but it's also almost interview. So whereas before it was just all so much more romantic and this.
You had to put thought and effort into something.
Absolutely.
You don't know the next time you're gonna see him. You gotta wait till you get home before you call him. They gotta be at home too.
That's crazy.
It was different.
You had to remember phone numbers.
No. Hey, man.
How many phone numbers you know?
Mine? Look, I know my number.
Hey.
It took me 2 years to learn my other cell phone number.
Wow.
It's totally different. Dating is different now. So when you define dating and then adding kids, it's like you're saying dating with kids. It's not hard. It's just a whole nother animal.
I think at this point in my life, I have 2 kids of my own. I'm just not dating anybody with more than 2 kids.
Okay.
I mean, like, if I had to, because my 2.
Right.
I'd be booked and busy. I just can't imagine.
Right.
True.
Now you're talking about you need a different car. Let me get a table for 6.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't be like opposed to it. Now, also at this age, I'm 34. If I met somebody who didn't have kids, who didn't have children, I wouldn't think it was abnormal, like especially like if they've never been married or because nowadays it's like a lot of reasons that go into why people don't have children. And like you were saying earlier, some people just try to wait for the right one. The only thing I don't agree with is just the wait until you get a certain amount of money, because there's never a certain amount of money
That's true.
that you can have. But other than that, like meeting the right person, make sure you're having kids with the right person. I think all of that is fine and dandy. That was another point that I also wanted to touch on. But did you have something to say?
I think for me, it's just I would have to figure out the situation, because I thought
Which
it
is the
would be
point I want to touch on.
right, because I felt like I would have it all figured out. I met a woman who's 35 and her daughter's 20. I'd be like, okay, well, your daughter grown.
Right.
But then at a certain point, it was like, Mom, I need you. Mom, I need you. And it's like, damn, so she's 20, but she still very much needs you present in her life. I think it will just try and take some adjusting to, because like you said, at the age 30 and going up, everybody has like at least one.
Yeah.
And so I would just have to know like your actual village, and then probably just laying down expectations of what that means for me and what that means for you.
My thing is, like I said, I have a stepson, and the dynamic between my husband and his mother is different for me. So going forward, I would look more into like, what's the relationship like with your baby's mother or your baby's father? Like, do y'all get along? Are y'all blended? Because sometimes we have to do stuff like we have to do 2 of everything.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily like that. My kids are not used to, we're doing this today because we got to do this. Like, I more so, my parents divorced. I have a sister, from my dad that's older than me, and we were all together. So I'm used to that, and that's kind of like where I ideally see where I want my household to be. So as long as it's nothing crazy where like, the baby daddy's delusional, or the baby mama is like, I had a baby with you 15 years ago and I still don't like you. You gotta let that hurt go.
Please
go talk to whoever you need to talk to, because at the end of the day, there's other kids involved, and they miss out on a lot of opportunities because parents, grown people shit is like what I want to call it, can't necessarily get along, and it's not usually both parents. It's usually just one who is bitter, mad, and that does not help the situation. To me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I think also dating, when you get ready to start getting out there and everything, you gave a scenario where the children are much older. They're not those elementary, age. They're already, got their own personality, mindset, and everything. And, those scenarios happen for whatever reason, and now they're, dating and everything. Those types of scenarios present people who have had to adjust and adapt, change, and grow, all these different experiences. So even if you, met somebody who have kids or whatever, then
Yeah. Going back to cheering. Going back to cheering.
Right. Man. Because, 35 or even at 40, that type of a individual, male or female, that is a single dad with kids, single woman with kids, they're going to be a different person than they were a decade prior.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Yeah. True.
That is a lot of hope. Sheesh.
Cause I'm 10 years in and I ain't seen the other person change.
You ain't seen the change yet. They are who they are.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah. That is a thing sometimes.
Mm-hmm. But go ahead.
But no, I mean, but that, I mean, there again, it just goes to speak to, people changing throughout a dating process, period. Mm-hmm. When you first meet that person, then it's all one way, 6 months, a year and a half down, it may be some changes due to raising children.
Right.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you, and I think I'm trying to find that silver lining too, because I feel like, when you go from your 20s and 30s, not only does your mindset need to change, but you also need to grow with your mindset.
Most definitely.
It's one thing to know that, okay, I need to do this more, I need to do this, but it's a whole nother thing to actually do it.
Right.
So I'm trying to come out of that phase where I'm like, I don't know about dating no woman with no kids. I don't know about actually, having children with someone, because at the end of the day, you can prepare all you want, but just dealing with life and the experiences, sometimes you just don't know. You may catch feelings for a person and everything seems to be going well, and then y'all have, a child or whatever the case may be, and then something traumatic happens to them or you. And all of a sudden, they're not that same person no more. Can you stay in the reign of being with them? Or you just like, no, I'm out. I got to move on. So, yeah, you didn't plan on being no, single mom or a single dad. But, hey, it's in your face.
I don't think anybody plans for that. But I do remember a time where earlier in my 20s that I was like, I'm not dating nobody with kids. Like, that shit's out the window. Yeah. Kids. That's the time. And then I hit 25. I bought my first house. Right. And I was like, it's just me in here. I think I want to have a baby. I had my first baby at 28. No, 29. I was pregnant at 28. I turned 29. Gotcha. And some type of way the little second one got on in there. Right. I just remember a point where I just was like, nah, I would never do that. And then I ended up marrying somebody who already had a kid. And I actually got my first look at motherhood through him. Mm-hmm. And I babysat a lot when I was younger too. But I kind of got a feel for what it was going to be like. And I was like, I don't want to do this every other weekend anymore. Like, I want to do this every day. Wow. So it was just something inside of me that was like clicking. Like, I think I do want babies.
Right. Real smooth. Thank you.
That is, you know what? You pull up a great point, because I never really thought about that, because it's real cute to say, I don't want to date anyone with kids.
Boy, fuck you.
But then also, when you experience that with someone for the first time, it's your first time and their first time, that can be really shaky. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? As opposed to someone who already has experiences with having that.
And when I tell you I didn't know nothing.
Right.
I was like, it was different, like babysitting my little cousins, but like,
yeah,
when you actually are dating someone who has children and you may see something that the other person doesn't see about the child or about the situation, and you're just like, I gotta just be on the outside looking in. Like, I can't necessarily say anything. I can't be offensive. I can't step on too many toes. Like, it definitely can be a slippery slope.
Yeah.
To date somebody else.
For sure. Because I remember having a homeboy who didn't have any And we was talking about, I was like, yeah, bro, if we ever had one, like, I'd be lost. I wouldn't know what to do. And he was like, man, the same for me, same for me. He ended up getting somebody pregnant, like, the very next year. And he had a baby.
He had to figure it out.
Right. And I don't know when I first came over, how many months that baby was, but, like, when I walked into his apartment and saw him with the baby, like, he was really, like, it was just second nature. Like, he knew, like, oh, yeah, she be needing this, she be needing that. I got the pacifier, do this. And I'm like, bro, I'm at a loss. You know what I mean? Because when a baby start crying, I'd be like, so when you gonna stop? Like, you just gonna turn off? Like, you just gonna keep doing this?
Nah, it's like steps to the process.
Right,
like,
it's a whole.
Are they hungry? Do they need a diaper change? Are they sleepy?
Right, what is it going on? Or you just trying to be annoying? I don't know. But yeah, that, I mean,
You probably be like this. Keep the baby
right.
Yeah.
I gotta read a lot of books. But damn, I never really thought about that until
you
you
really
said
need
it.
to read any books.
I don't need to read no books.
Nah, it's
I just pick up on cues.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm smart. I did okay.
I mean, like, if you want to read something, that's cool. But your baby might be the one that defies everything in that book.
Right. I will hope so.
So it's just like practice and you'll get it.
True. What was
By the
it
time
like?
the baby turned 18.
Yeah. what was it like when y'all was growing up?
Like
Y'all
seeing
remember?
people dating?
Yeah.
With kids? Like, shit. Only thing I can think about is like I said, my parents were divorced. And my dad dated women who had children. But I can only remember my mom dating. I remember she dated a guy who had children, but I don't remember seeing the kids, so maybe he wasn't good dating. Maybe that's why it didn't work out.
Right.
But I said kids. But going to my dad's house, I ain't like it. Like, I was like, that's my daddy.
Not yours.
I had a first.
Don't be in his face. These kids ain't cute. Nah, bro. I remember like, Daddy, can we leave?
Wow.
Or like saying stuff like that because I'm not a fan. I was never like a fan of anybody who wanted to call my dad and my mom. And I wasn't calling any other parent, you know, my mom's boyfriend or my dad's girlfriend's mom or dad. I didn't cross those lines.
Yeah.
I was cool with my sister's mom. I'm still cool with her or whatever because I think they created a good dynamic for us. But other than that, I wasn't okay with stepbrothers and sisters.
Right. Yeah. What about you? What
They
you
probably
remember?
watching.
I didn't really see a lot of that with my parents, but I had an uncle who definitely, you know, once he was divorced, started dating, and you know, some of them, the women that he dated had kids, and some of them didn't. You know,
Right.
I don't necessarily think that it was problematic, but what I tell you, what stands out when I think about this is, in my situation when I dated, before I was married, I dated another woman who had a boy and a girl.
Okay.
And the chemistry wasn't there with her children. It was
you didn't
right.
have chemistry with the children?
Right.
Okay.
But then with my ex-wife, when, you know, her two children, boy and a girl, wonderful. It was like I stepped right in and I was like, you know, a daddy instantly.
Yeah.
So, I think sometimes when you're dating or, you know, you have family that's dating different people, you know, sometimes those kids don't sit around because, you know, it's not a fit.
And that may have been a thing too for
It's not
me.
a fit.
Yeah.
My dad's girlfriends, my dad like ugly girls. My mama not ugly though. They weren't welcoming.
Ooh.
So I think that may have been the issue.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you walk into your dad's house and his girlfriend's like, Steve, get your kids. You be like,
right, who is this woman? I've been here. Right.
girl, you knew.
Yeah.
I think, and my dad did have a girlfriend, Felicia, that I did like, and I didn't mind her children. She had a boy and a girl as well, but she was very, very warming, and the issues that I would have with my dad, she kind of would address them.
Wow.
So I didn't feel that type of way about her. I didn't feel like it was like, you sometimes feel like your parents' new significant other may have some jealousy towards you or something like that, and I didn't feel that way with Felicia. But as far as the women before, it was always like, this your ex-wife, kids.
And you bring up another great point, Kris, that I never really thought about, of how when you date someone who may have a child and you being the same gender of them, how that can balance out whatever disagreements or conflict that they may have. Because if I date a woman who has a child and she has like a little boy or something like that, he's growing up and stuff like that, she may not be able to see what it is coming from his perspective. But me, who's a man now, who's been a boy, who'd be like, I don't think you're seeing this the right way. I think you also have to, you know what I'm saying, take this into consideration. And so it's really just, I think I'm open to it, but I just need like
it has to be perfect. Well, not perfect, but it has to be somewhere where y'all can meet.
Absolutely, because being like an only child, like I remember my mom, like she wasn't specifically dating so she could really focus on me. And I think that's really kept me from dating someone.
I think that's go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just going to say, I don't want you to lose that point, but dating someone with kids, because I just
taking baby steps in
right. I've ultimately just, you know what I'm saying, fade into black, because I feel like, no, you need to be focused on your child. You can't necessarily do that while dating me, and I may still be a bit selfish being an only child. And so I don't want to get into way of your child's growth. Like it may not sound right, but like I don't want to study his growth, her growth, because if you dealing with me, because I do think I still have like my selfish ways that I have to grow from and stuff like that. And I'm on the type of time, if it's not necessarily the way that I want it, then we shouldn't do it, because I'm driving it all the way.
It's good that you said that like men can help, women can help, because there was a time where it's not just men helping other young boys or women helping other young men. Sometimes, I know in my situation, my husband he doesn't have a nurturing spirit. So when his son, who has a somewhat, I don't want to say that.
What is he just giving to be a man? What you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And you be like, look, he's not used to that approach.
Right.
You have to come at him from a different angle so that y'all don't always bump heads.
Right.
So sometimes I have to kind of step in as the mediator to make sure that their communication is better, because they are two totally different types of people.
Ooh, I'm glad you said that. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. But if I can be completely personal, me and my dad don't have like a relationship at all. Like we don't talk, we don't kick it. I don't know. He could be on the moon right now and I would not know. But to your point, when we did have some type of relationship, he was in a relationship with a woman who I felt like he really listened to and was a voice of reason. And I don't think we talk about that enough in the black community, of when a father has a child and then that child becomes of age and more grown and sees things through just his perspective, how important maybe a woman is to be like, listen, babe, I know you see it how you see it, but your son, he's
that's definitely what
this.
happens in my house.
And if they don't have that woman, it's just dad against son, and that can get real ugly.
It's the same way with mother and daughter, though.
Yeah, that's
like
that too.
If you don't see eye to eye with your mother,
and
sometimes you need dad in there to kind of mediate, like, hey,
right. But if he's not there,
right. Or
just
she doesn't have a man, mom doesn't have a man that she can somewhat listen to or take advice from.
Yeah.
That can be a slippery slope.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Damn, you make a great point on that.
How you feel about that?
Yeah, that was a spot on, because I think everybody has something to contribute when it comes to these types of relationships.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why, when you begin to date and introduce yourself into another household, it's important to bring a lot of that, open-mindedness to the table, to know that you need to be prepared for things to come, because it's not just hanging out, watching TV or whatever. It's going to be dealing with real life on a day-to-day.
I feel like you have to create this dynamic in your household of like whether or not you're a step parent or a step child. Whose ever kid it is, you have to let it be known, that there should be a respect factor there.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be like, you ain't my mommy, you ain't my daddy, I ain't listening to you.
That's your thing, though.
And I think whose ever child it is, it should have that conversation with, their significant other or spouse or whatever y'all at the time that these are the ground rules, this is what I'm okay with, this is not what I'm okay with. Right. But I think that they should be fair. Like, I remember an instance where it was like, if my child ever does something, call me. And I'm like, but what if it's something that needs immediate action and you're not there?
Or you may not pick up.
Right, or you may not pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So, like, then what? Do I let the kid just go off the rocker, have a tantrum? Like, like, what do I do? So I think, like, if I was ever in that situation, as long as you're not violent to my kid or verbally abusive to my kid, I think that you should be able to, I guess I'm talking about discipline when I say this, you should be able to discipline the child in a way that you both see fit. And that should be a conversation that you have. Because a lot of the times, kids can play. They can play parents against parents. Even if it's not a step parent, they can play mom against dad real easy. Like, my mom let me get away with this. Let me go ask her. But I got a trick for my kids. I be like, "What your daddy say?"
That's interesting. Because dating, sometimes when you're at that stage, there isn't a lot of room or leeway or acceptance of discipline from someone you're seeing.
It can break it up fast.
Yeah. So it's like that happens usually after there's a title on it and all of that. You know what I mean? Because I remember there was a young lady I was seeing that had some kids.
How many?
It was 2.
Kids.
Okay,
It was 2. Now, the little boy was bad.
What bad?
So we're not in a relationship, but the little boy is bad. Like, he's out of control.
He Dennis the Menace.
He needs a whooping.
Right.
That's what he needs.
That's what he needs.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not in that place to do any of that.
You want to be
and
like,
it's
look,
like,
nigga.
it's no limits, it's no boundaries, it's no none of this. So that was I gotta be out.
That was what I was over here laughing about, for real. I'm like, what if... Okay.
Go ahead.
She had a badass kid. But what if the person that you're dating is actually like, shut the fuck up. Sit the fuck down.
That's a great point.
So you be like, I'm going to call you tomorrow.
I've been there before. But one thing that I've learned, because I dated a woman who had kids.
I need to get some more.
He's out.
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter, like, whether they're good or bad, they need discipline. And the thing is, they may not understand discipline until they have a choice. And so when I was dating a woman who had multiple children, she had 2. And, like, I came into that room and it looked a mess.
I'm just surprised he dated somebody with 2 children.
I had to learn. Right, but she had 2. And don't get me wrong, a child's room is going to be a child's room. But when I tell you it looked like a tornado hit that room, You know what I'm saying? But the thing
It was
is,
just the room. It wasn't the whole house, right?
the house wasn't looking all that either. But their room was specifically messed up.
I hope y'all don't think my house looks messy.
But I'm saying what I didn't think of, like, yeah, I don't know. You have to do the research behind like children's their mental state and discipline and how their room looks. But either way, I don't like no messy house.
Yeah.
But the thing is, she worked like the night shift, and so when she worked like 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. whatever it was, she'd get off and then take them to school and then try and get rest in between that time while handling business. Then they get off from school and then she's still trying to rest up for work. So it's just like,
who gave the kids during the day?
What you?
I mean,
school?
like while she was at work. My bad.
What you mean?
From 10 to 7.
She probably had someone to stay with them, or they go with grandma, or somebody came over and stuff like that. But
She the scripper?
no, she just worked the night shift. But my point was, they just needed that male's presence because they would just be running rampant, and I'd be like, look, y'all doing too much. You know what I'm saying? Mom got enough she's trying to deal with y'all. Make sure that you focus on this.
Newsflash: kids don't give a fuck.
True. But when I locked in to see how easy they were to please, the little girl, she like dolls. And she was like, well, I'll try and do it if you give me a doll. The doll, of course, that's not going to set me back that much, $10, $15, whatever it was. And the little boy like little action figures. I was like, all right, cool. If y'all make sure this room is straight, I can get y'all a little action figure. That ain't nothing. I can get you a doll. And so then they started doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I think like when it comes to what you said about like discipline and making sure that it's straight, like if you can just get across to them, because I feel like that's the biggest thing with children is they don't feel heard.
I definitely think that you have to tap into however the kid responds. You have some parents. Shit.
I'm done. That's enough babysit. Right, drink that home. Yeah. We both done.
Baby sips. Baby sips. They're not gonna get me to date. I think that you definitely have to pay attention to how the kid responds. Like I drink for y'all.
Yeah, please do.
My son, he wants you to talk to him real soft.
Okay.
Like he wants you to come to your mouse.
Do this.
Do this.
Right.
Because you give him a little bit of aggression, he be like,
yeah,
so
doing too much.
Then my daughter, no matter how soft you talk to her, she ain't doing it. You got to be like, Zion!
Right.
So I feel like you definitely have to figure out how to communicate with the kid and get to them on their level. Like when I say on their level,
right, come down to them.
Come down to them and figure that out.
Say kids.
Y'all ain't got nothing to drink.
Okay, right. But you do though. So drink should be gone by the end of the episode. Thank you. That's fast, baby. Right. You taking embryo sips at this point.
Well.
Anyways, I know you got at least one more question.
I do.
Okay.
So my last question for y'all is: do y'all feel like kids break up marriages or relationships, or relationships?
That's a great question.
Well, sometimes I won't say they break them up, but and however, the amount of stresses that sometimes children can bring to a marriage, a relationship, it can cause a huge taxing burden, especially as they get older and they can get into trouble.
I think it's
then they can get into legal trouble and things of that nature. I mean, it just can be compounded to where it can leave you with some questions, you know, to where you feel like you may have to give an ultimatum. You know, you have to, you know, make a decision, a choice, because of how much you can continue to bear and withstand. So it's possible, you know, if you get the scenario of, you know, a child that's literally, you know, selling drugs and, or in a gang and all these, these types of problems become really, really serious. For sure. You know, they can become very expensive because now all of the fees and this and the that, you know, sometimes those become really, really serious. And then on the other hand, you have the medical needs children sometimes that everybody's not equipped to deal with, you know. So it's possible. It's not far-fetched. It's not unlikely that somebody who is
So
dating or in a
tactful again.
Right, for sure.
I'm sorry, but but that's just where I feel. You know, it's not unlikely that, you know, somebody who is dating can come into a situation, get introduced to the children, and then see that they are not equipped to deal with the children because of the type of lifestyle that they need.
I want to go last.
Okay, cool. It's funny that we mentioned this because I didn't even think about it until we said it. Of course, me being an only child, I wasn't always like only child. Like my parents were married, but I actually think that I definitely broke up their marriage. Yeah, I didn't think about it until just like right now, us discussing it. But they were fine, and then they had me. The difference was my mother was a white collar worker, and my dad was a blue collar worker. And at a certain point in their marriage, my mom would always have to travel for work and take flights here, there, and this. And so then my dad, being a blue collar worker, of course he'd still be at home, right, with me. And all of a sudden, he just felt a bit like emasculated. Like, hold on now, like this ain't necessarily what I signed up for. Like, I don't like how this is going. But my mom, being one of those working women in the 90s, was like, well, damn, you knew who I was before I met you, so how are we supposed to compromise? Like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And unfortunately, neither one of them was looking forward to trying to compromise, and that ultimately, you know what I'm saying, broke up the marriage. So I definitely feel like children can factor into it, you know, just when it comes to the marriage. It can definitely break things up.
Yeah.
I feel like with your situation with your mom and dad, had it been the other way around, would your mom have lived your dad?
That's a great question. That is a great question.
I think that when you have kids with somebody, the responsibility.
Oh, now he cares about every word.
The responsibility should be somewhat equal, even though most of it goes off to mom. But there's so many other things that we have to do other than sitting for the children.
Sure.
That I don't think dads necessarily pay attention to because everything is afloat.
Right.
Like there's no past due bills coming. There's no, the food's in the refrigerator, it's dinner on the stove. But you have to think about what she did in order to get all of these things done. And whether or not she wants to take a flight or she needs to go to work or whatever she needs to do, is to keep the ship flowing. And a lot of men, as you said, can feel emasculated, but it's not to emasculate you because your mom worked, I'm pretty sure, because probably she needed to. And you have to take that into accountability as men. Like, if you don't want her to work, that's one thing. And then you don't have to worry about, I'm taking this work trip.
Right.
Because ultimately, like, something has to be answered to. And I say all the time to, like, my husband, when I go on a trip, it's different. I'm packing bags for 3 people. I'm making sure that everything here is done before I leave. I gotta pack bags for both of the kids. Because I don't leave them with him. I gotta make sure that they got what they need. I gotta make sure I got what I need. I gotta make sure he has what he needs. And nobody's necessarily worried about that when he goes on a trip. He is literally packing a bag for himself.
He goes. That's it.
He don't care where they going, what they doing. He ain't asking nothing. Like, I don't necessarily think that the kids break up the marriage. I think that adults not wanting to be helpmates to each other while having children breaks up the marriage or the relationship, because at the end of the day, they are little beings. They did not ask to be here, and you two made them together. And you should do whatever it takes to get them where they need to be in life and support each other, because ultimately, I don't think any kid really wants to live without mom or dad.
And to that point that you just made, like, I don't think we factor into how much like a divorce or relationship pulling apart really affects the kids.
Oh, I do want to touch on that really quickly. Really quickly.
Because to my parents' point that I was talking about, shortly after they divorced, my dad ended up going into corporate America, and he had a white-collar job. And so it makes me question, like, what ultimately their relationship or marriage would have been if they would have had more patience and stayed together. And then ultimately how it would have affected me growing up and how I view relationships and marriages. How would my dad's life be now? My mom transitioned years ago, but will she maybe still be here? You know, it's so many different things. Like, one thing can happen to just change the trajectory of everyone's lives. And sometimes people be like, oh, you know, my kids, they ain't saying nothing, so they straight. But no, they remember certain things
most definitely
vividly, even though they may not speak on it, or you may
my
not see
memory
them.
starts at 3.
Yeah.
3. My 3rd birthday.
Yeah.
My parents divorced when I was 2. My 3rd birthday party, they get into this big ass brawl.
Right.
That is legit.
Still in your head.
My first memory.
That was over 30-something years ago.
31 years ago.
31 years ago, and you still remember that.
Yeah.
You know?
And so I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, your parents divorced, my parents divorced, and I kind of think it probably was the best thing for them. But as far as my upbringing, I never, it was like, you invite mom, because I have a twin. Who we inviting to this? Is dad coming too? Because we got to figure out how mom not coming.
Right.
Like, because for the rest of, till my dad transitioned, he passed it was like 10 years ago. When they saw each other, they would still argue.
Even though they've been done.
Yeah.
Not even together no more.
Like, and it wasn't my mom. I will say that. It wasn't, my mom definitely could tolerate my dad, but she moved on, she left. But my dad was just...
What a hot dog buns.
Whatever.
He just like something. Yeah.
Whatever. And he was just like, they cannot be together. Baby, I could fall down a flight of stairs in the airport. And I'm not embarrassed because my mom and dad was arguing everywhere they went together.
Right.
So, I don't think that's the dynamic that I would ever want to create with my kids. I'm so for like co-parenting and getting along and figuring out a way to make it work. Even though, like I said, it wasn't necessarily my mom. It was definitely my dad. He was just so stubborn. But I often think like what would have happened if they had a better, I don't see them married, better co-parenting relationship.
Yeah.
Will things not have been as difficult for me because I kind of had to figure out a lot of stuff on my own.
And that can be difficult because I know you got to close out, but we on this, but like that's so important because especially if I could just speak from a personal experience as a black man, when you're in a disagreement with the woman that you're dating or your wife, how do you know how to handle that conflict if you never saw it?
Yeah.
You can just say, you know, you're trying to be a good person and stuff like
That's
that.
That's a good one for you. Your parents are still married.
Yeah, some men have that example and it's handled the right way, but for some others, it's just like, I don't know, I'm going off the whim. And you can either do too much
or not enough.
Or not enough.
Yeah.
And you be caught in the middle, and it's just like, damn, what do I do? If I shut up, I'm not saying enough. If I go off, I'm doing way too much. It can get real difficult.
That's when I say, like, you know, you go sit on that couch and you talk to that therapist and you get her your copay or whatever it is.
Something.
So that you can find out how to properly communicate. Like, I've had a therapist for years.
Right on.
And I think that is very, very beneficial. So
for you and your kids.
For kids. You have something?
Well, right, just before you close, just keep bearing in mind, like what you were saying in terms of what you shared personally, which I appreciate. But sometimes our parents, they have layered, lives and issues that, you can internalize as a child on the outside looking in. And so you have that question of, did you break it up or whatever, you know. And I don't want you to feel that way. I hope that's not your takeaway, simply because, you know, looking at different people who are married, myself being married, knowing all full well, you know, my children, you know, I don't want them to feel that any anger or anything that they may see me do is not directed at them, and they're not the root cause.
Right.
You know, we have our own stresses, whether it's from these jobs, whether it's other family issues, financial, or whatever, you know, social, it could be anything. And so, you know, for all the viewers and everything, you know, relationships are complex, all of them. You know, so yeah, kids, they can, you know, be those disruptions, but in a lot of cases they are not. It's what we got going on as adults.
Yeah, it's what you have going on in like your everyday life, and when you feel like that other person just isn't filling that void or helping take up that slack that's going on, it may get directed towards the kids, because at the end of the day, they can't bathe themselves, they can't change their own diapers. It's you know, whatever.
They still need a ride to practice. They still need.
Right, they got to get picked up from school, they got to eat, need a bath, somebody got to wash their clothes, fold their clothes, put their clothes up, like everything you're doing.
Right.
I think this was a great topic. We missed Ashley today, but we got it done. So in closing, I am your host, Kris. My Instagram is blowing my horn. It will be down at the bottom. We also have an Instagram page for the show, Krisp Konversations. That will also be down at the bottom. Y'all follow, like, subscribe.
Yes, make sure you definitely like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. My IG handle is gracious_gift3. It'll be below.
I'm Harvey. I'm at Harvey Does It on IG.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Peace.
Peace.